Good evening, everyone. It is so exciting to see you. Welcome to our event. It is called Forward Together, Celebrating Black Joy in the Performing Arts. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Mrs. Whitney Garrett Walker. I am currently an assistant principal at the James Lick Middle School in San Francisco, California, in San Francisco Unified School District, where our superintendent is Dr. Matthews. First thing I want to do is also shout out a lot of our amazing folks who are with us today, our Board of Education, our Board of Commissioners, Board of Supervisors, and all of the folks who are here in this room, as far as England, Michigan, Minnesota, and all up and down the great state of California. I want to also welcome and say thank you to our amazing ASL interpreters. We have Miss Lisa Washington to my right. And then we also have Mr. Sean Merriman, who is here with us as well. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for being here to provide more access to this event. I would like to introduce my co-host, Mr. Keith Karamez. I'm going to read his amazing bio. Keith Karamez is a veteran teaching artist with 19 years experience in San Francisco Unified School District. He is the recipient of the Mayor's Teacher of the Year Award for his work at Ruth Asawa School of the Arts and was named Teacher of the Year by the Engineers Alliance for the Arts. He is the first ever Pacific Singers Actors Workshop Star Award recipient and the only teacher in SFUSD to receive 2 Dreamcatcher Awards for both excellence in interdisciplinary arts and fearlessness in arts education. The recipient of the Kennedy Center Award for Meritorious Achievement in Directing. He has consulted for the historic Curran Theater, taught at San Francisco State University, and the American Conservatory Theater, Young Conservatory. And he currently teaches theater arts at James Lick Middle School while directing the after-school music theater program. I'm so excited to introduce Mr. C. He has been right there with me. We have worked together as part of the African American Student Success Team at James Lick to put on this event for you all. And again, super excited, super excited. Welcome, Mr. C.
You're excited. I'm excited. I cannot believe that we're all here. We have so many participants who have registered, and we just want to thank all of you for participating in this conversation. It's a beginning. We want to acknowledge the work that has been done at James Lick Middle School in the years past. Special shout out to Charnel Ruff, Antoine Stanberry, Cephas Johnson, the entire James Lick staff who have been working this year and in years past on the African American Student Success Team and with our efforts for Black History Month. So Black history is our history, and I'm white as you can get. I'm here. I am no expert tonight, but I want to be part of this conversation with my good friends here in this room. We entitled our piece "Forward Together," and if everybody could take a look at your screen for just a moment, my dear friend Beth McCoy will recognize this painting. We use it with Artful Learning across the country as we consult together. Jacob Lawrence painted this image in 1997. And if everybody could just take a look at this for just a hot second, something is happening in this picture. Look at who you see, the direction that they're headed. When I ask my students what they see in this picture, immediately students are able to tell me they're on the run. There's an escape of some sort. And I ask them, how can you tell? Well, there's movement. Look at the fingers clutched, what they're carrying with them. I asked them, where are they headed? I said, I don't know. So why don't you look at that star in the top right-hand corner? And as soon as I mention the word star, they go, oh, it's the North Star. I say, well, who's that in the picture? And they all say, Harriet Tubman. She doesn't look so good in that picture. But Jacob Lawrence didn't paint her to look like she was going to no manicure, right?
Mhm.
She was running for her life and taking people on the road with her. Yes, the drinking gourd. Yes, whoever just typed that in the chat. So if we look at Harriet Tubman as an historic and heroic figure, you can look at this painting and much of Jacob Lawrence's work, and we can look at the North Star as a metaphor for a constant guiding force that sort of leads us on our own paths in life. So as we go through this conversation tonight with our panelists, who we're going to meet in just a moment, I'm going to ask the audience to just put that seed into their head. What are your North Star values? Those unchanging sort of guiding principles that carry you through those tough times. We can speculate on what Miss Tubman held near and dear, but for
Mhm.
our conversation today, as we're celebrating Black joy, I think we should establish some guiding principles.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Mr. C. I appreciate you. And so, in terms of principles, we know that we are living in unprecedented times, my folks. Time of global health pandemic, racial uprising, racial awareness, and other systems of oppression that seek to continue to subjugate us. And so, um, we understand that Black joy doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? We understand that. We also know that Black joy is not for the consumption of others. And as part of our resistance, joy has to also be, right? And so, given that, I want to offer that to best frame our discussion, we're going to be talking about resistance and how joy intersects with that, as well as how there is space for solidarity, right? And so I'm so excited for this. Mr. C, you want to introduce our panelists?
Yeah, I've been dying to introduce them. I'm so excited. Oh my God. So let's start with Marcelo Javier. Marcelo Javier co-founded the San Francisco Bay Area Theater Company in 2014. During the pandemic, he has hosted and performed on San Francisco Bay Area Theater Company, or SF Batco's, weekly variety virtual TV show called Live with Rod and Mars on twitch.tv. Can we all welcome our good friend Marcelo Pereira? Welcome, Marcelo. We also have Rodney Earl Jackson Jr. He's also the co-founder of SF Batco. Now, Rodney made his Broadway debut in the Book of Mormon. He was last seen at the American Conservatory Theater's production of the West Coast premiere of Tony Stone. Prior to that, he traveled North America in the first national tour of Motown the Musical. Other theater credits include Berkeley Rep's Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations, San Francisco Bay Area Theater Company's I Too Sing America, which I saw, which was truly fantastic. He's a San Francisco native. He built his love and foundation for art in the public city organizations like SF Arts Ed and San Francisco Parks and Recreation Department. He's also a graduate of the Ruth Asawa San Francisco School of the Arts, as is Marcelo, graduating from the Theater Arts Department. And he's currently the artistic director of the San Francisco Bay Area Theater Company. Let's welcome Rodney.
Hello.
Hi. We have three more panelists for you tonight, gang. We have Miss Sherry Young. Miss Sherry Young is an MFA graduate from the American Conservatory Theater and former commissioner for the San Francisco Arts Commission. She founded the African American Shakespeare Company in 1993 and has been its executive director ever since. She's directed 25 productions, produced and executed 5 programs for the organization, and speaks at various colleges, universities, and conferences across the nation. She manages all 84 company members and 46 volunteers for the organization. One of her highlights is creating the company's signature holiday performance, Cinderella, and she was recently awarded the prestigious Jefferson Award, recognizing her work in public service. Let's welcome Sherry Young. Hey girl, how are you? I love your virtual background. It gets better and better. Our fourth panelist is Miss Katrina McGraw. Katrina McGraw has worked as a casting director for Bay Area musicals and 42nd Street Moon, and she's an actor and a teaching artist, outreach coordinator, and she's worked everything in the theater. She's even worked box office, which is so essential. She's a San Francisco native, and she graduated from the Pacific Conservatory of the Performing Arts. She has played so many roles and won awards here in San Francisco. She's truly amazing. She's played Bessie Smith in The Devil's Music, Mrs. Shields in A Christmas Story at SF Playhouse, Armelia in Ain't Misbehavin' from 42nd Street Moon, the Sour Kangaroo in Seussical with Bay Area Musicals, and Motor Mouth Maybelle in Hairspray with Allenbury Playhouse. Let's welcome Miss Katrina McGraw. And finally, our homegrown assistant principal, Mr. Cephas Johnson. He's our current assistant principal at James Lick Middle School. Before becoming an assistant principal, he spent 16 years in the classroom as an elementary school teacher. Bless your heart. I don't know. I came from high school. I went to middle school. Every day I cried just a little bit. I don't know how you did elementary school. I feel good now, though. 7th year of James Lick. I love it. He received his bachelor's degree from Xavier University of Louisiana and his master's of education from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. And when he's not working, he likes chess, reading, biking, hanging out with his dog Peanut. Let's welcome Mr. Johnson and the entire crew here today. Mwah!
All
How's
right.
everybody doing?
Before we get started and move any further, I just want to let you also know that part of our event is also establishing our scholarship for African American students to be able to access the arts outside of school time. And so far, we have fundraised $2,250. 2,000 of those dollars came from Rink Rats, hockey team who said, hey, what's a cause you have at James Lick that we can donate to? And our beautiful, thoughtful, relevant, amazing, intelligent principal, Miss Ruby Lee D. Tiny, said, hey, we have this scholarship and our Black students need it. Let's do it. And so we have a link that's going to be placed into the chat. If you feel moved to provide funding for this opportunity, we would love that. Our students would love that because they are interested in the arts. They want that one-on-one singing lesson, acting lessons, all to continue their love for the arts, but then also to keep them engaged in school. Y'all know it's a global health pandemic right now. And so any and everything that we could possibly do to keep our historically marginalized students engaged and excited about school through extracurricular activities, let's do it.
You know what? I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm pledging to donate $100 right now to this fund. I am a teacher. I have no money, but I don't care. These kids need it. They want it, and I'm pledging it right now. So who's gonna match me? I don't know who. Maybe it's
I'm
you.
matching you, Mr. I'm matching you. Let's do it.
That makes me so happy. All right, we'll come back.
Me too.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm gonna match.
I got 100. I got it. I'm on it.
Oh my God. All right.
Well, there it is. $5, $10, whatever you can give. Again, thank you so much. And shout out to our wonderful PTSA. Shout out to Dina, Miss Michelle Rice Top for supporting us in our fundraising efforts. All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, I want to know why everybody's here tonight. Why are you here tonight?
Right. Why are you here? Why did you decide to come and show up on this panel, beautiful people?
They answered the call. Who wants to start? Look at that smile. I'm going to Rodney. Rodney, would you start us off, please? Why are you here tonight? What does Black Joy mean to you? What are you doing here tonight?
Black Joy is, and thank you for this moment. I think this is wonderful to have, for all of us to have conversations that are really relevant and important in a critical time for us. Black Joy to me is expression. Black Joy is freedom. Black Joy is justice. Black Joy is unique. Black Joy is allowing someone to stretch free and be free. Also, Black Joy isn't always seen. And for some kids, Black Joy for kids may be different from white joy. It may be very, very different the way we see it. But Black joy is my favorite kind of joy because it's that joy that I see in my family.
Maybe we can popcorn out. Who would you like to speak next, Rodney?
Sherry, what's black joy to you?
When I was looking it up, because there's all these new expressions in the world, and Black joy is just something I assume we all had. But what I found in the definition is that it is joy out of the experience of traumatic events. You finding that joy to continue on, even though something has happened to you in your life. And I believe in that wholeheartedly with my heart. I believe you find those little moments to be proud. I got a new nephew in my life, the first like child in my family, and he is giving me so much joy right now. He's drooling, spitting up, and I love every single moment of it. But then I could give him back to his mother and go home. So so for me right now today, that is Black joy.
Sending the baby home is black joy. Gotcha.
That's right.
I gotcha. I saw Katrina nodding up and down a lot during that.
Yeah, I agree with what Sherry said. And just to add on that, I would say just unapologetically Black, unapologetically joyful. Still we rise is what comes to mind for me on that. But yeah.
Marcelo, Mr. Johnson.
I mean, I'm the sole non-Black panelist tonight, but what Black joy means to me is being able to have some of my closest friends, who a lot of them are actually on this call, to see them be able to celebrate their own lives and their own voices authentically without fear. And I think, as Katrina said, unapologetically, because that's when we're at our best. And everybody deserves that opportunity.
Mr. Johnson, bring it home for us, please.
First of all, I'm just grateful to be here tonight with all these amazing artists. And as an educator and as a rep of James Lick, when I think about Black joy, I think about our children. I think about the energy and the creativity and the just natural joy that they have when they enter our building. I think about myself as an educator and how do I create that space for our children just to share that joy and just to be themselves. If you know me, I talk about my grandmother a lot. And so I got to bring it back to family and my grandma. I think about Black joy just being home, connection, love, and grandmothers, right? And grandparents. So.
Right. Thank you all so much. You answered the call to come and support this vision. And I think it's time for us to jump into the work. This is how it's going to work tonight. We're going to share a few clips from focusing on Broadway, musicals, plays. We'll be exploring film and television. When we talk about performing arts, we acknowledge there's musicians, there's technicians, there are dancers and costumers and makeup artists and performers. So any lens through which you'd like to analyze this work, we can talk about how the clip itself either hits the mark or misses the mark in terms of celebrating Black joy. If there's something missing, what would you put in? If something's there, what is it? Why is that important? Right, Ms. GW, do you agree?
I completely agree. This is a conversation, y'all. This is a conversation for us to engage with wholeheartedly, respectfully, and to really make our Black ancestors proud, right? And help them know that we're describing Black joy. In some cases, Black rage. In some cases, resistance. All of the things, right? And so our place is to have a thoughtful, respectful, critical conversation that covers resistance, covers solidarity, and covers most importantly, joy. All right, let's jump in. I'm ready for this first clip.
Mr. Joel, if you could share with us so what exactly is Black joy? We're going to let that run for about 3 minutes and 47 seconds or so. Now, this is a clip coming from a visual artist explaining their work. Now, I know we're focusing on performing arts, but how could we resist? I mean, this is just brilliant, schmilliant, McGilliant. So here we go, and after which we'll talk.
When I make my work, like Floaters, I thought about how radical that would be if we were to focus our attention on lived experience as a form of subject matter, and how much that would influence the future generation of artists and people to look at leisure and Black leisure as a form of radicalness or revolutionary, because we're showing that regardless of all the things that's happening to Black people around the world,
absolutely,
we still find time to connect with each other. And that if we were constantly in this place of battle, we really couldn't exist. Like, we would need time to like replenish our love and faith and joy, reset, you know. Yeah. My work kind of comes from when I'm around, we're all hanging out and we're in a pool or we're having a party, and I'm like,
it's like
we work hard. And I'm like, when I look around at the party and I see all these people at the party like laughing and talking, I said, we should make art about this. This is what art should be made about. We should show this to the world. The world needs to see that we're in this space, we're all laughing, having a good time, and people should see that this is something that is a norm.
Derek and I go way back. We've known each other since Pratt. And I think for me, on a professional, but also more importantly on a personal level, just I think from the first moment I met Derek, it's been one of those,
like,
just,
where have you been? Like, there's a whole space missing from artists, and primarily, you know, Black artists and artists of color, where a lot of the work was being made was not necessarily about lived experience. It was about issues dealing with oppressive structures and things that are mostly structured around academic conversations. You can be a person who engage in leisure and engage in family and engage in things that are celebratory, but also be just as interested and engaged in political structure. This is one component. There's many components that make up a complex human being. For me, as an artist, I want to make sure that this idea of Black radical imagination can still prosper. And I think that showing work like Buoyant, like, you know, the Floaters and We Came to Party and Plan is even more significant and more important now, because with so many things happening in society to Black people, it's important for them to see that regardless of all these things that has happened to us, that are happening to us, we're still prospering and we're still thriving, we're still surviving, and we're still joined by our family and friends, and we have time where we can actually reflect or do nothing at all. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing nothing at all sometimes.
But it's just like,
you know, it's okay.
What I love about that series so much is the freedom, Black joy. Talk about Black radical aesthetic. It's Black joy. You know what I mean? It's like you're capturing overall the Black essence of Black joy that most people don't necessarily witness.
Perfect. All right. They're talking about lived experience as subject matter. So let's open it up for the discussion.
What are y'all thinking? What did you notice? What came up for you?
Well, I love it. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Ronnie.
No, you go first, Sherry.
Well, I love what they said about finding that joy, because there's a lot of art, especially if you're Black, especially in theater. There's a lot of theater about being Black in America. And there are times, surprisingly enough, that we ain't thinking about America. We're just trying to be in our own skin and have the same like loves and struggles of any human being. So I like what he said about just finding that joy and experience of really just being human. And I appreciate that, because it's exhausting, explaining and being Black in America.
Mm.
Yes,
Absolutely.
that exact. Sure, I'm gonna piggyback off of that because I was gonna say what I noticed. The first thing I thought about was freedom and expression. You know, being able to have freedom of expression. You know, we came to this country not free. You know, so like let's unpacking that on like the history point of this. Let's get to that point, and then where we are now, how we've come full circle, or how we're still coming towards a full circle. I really appreciate them because the freedom of not having to deal with the parameters of what everyone else thinks is joy, or what should be, what you should be, or what you should look like, or what people see in the media of what a Black person is like, joy is the void of all those thoughts, to be quite honest, because I ain't got time to be thinking about what other people think about me while I'm trying to live in my happiness, in my joy, you know? So like the freedom, I was like, yes, void and freedom, get them out of here, all that noise.
Absolutely.
Rodney, when I just wrote it down. That's going to be like a bumper sticker for me, like void of all those thoughts. That just struck me at my core, like the exhaustion of having to think and think and think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we all have that. We all have our, like, you know, our the you know, the devil on one shoulder or the angel on one shoulder, or like two little crows chopping away in your head. Sometimes it'll be like, hey, silence that, man. Get out of here. Shut up. I'm trying to live my life in my happy lane, and you out here yapping, and it's just getting in the way. So like void. I'm like, clear that space for myself. I thought we can all do that in any kind of capacity. Black, white, Asian, Latino, all of us can feel that.
Thank you.
Yeah, to follow up with what Ronnie's, sorry, Katrina, go ahead, you go.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to follow up with what Rodney said, you know, and to bring it back to the kids, that's what I see in our children, is this freedom and this authenticity where our kids just want to be who they are, right? And a lot of times you think about public schools and the school system, that freedom and that authenticity doesn't fit with what we just would describe as a good student, right? A student who follows the rules, but they still have that freedom. They still bring that into the building every single day. And that freedom is representative of their joy. They're just happy and authentic with who they are as people. And the kids bring that joy.
That is a beautiful answer. And thank you for bringing it back to an educational lens, Mr. Johnson. We have a question in the chat, Mr. C.
Oh, that's good. Oh, just so everybody knows, at the end, we're reserving about 20 minutes as well to really plow through as many questions and answers as we can. But as things come up, as your thoughts, you want to jot something in the chat or ask a question, go for it. So what's the question, Ms. GW?
Gosh, I feel like this question should be asked after we watch our first clip. Janelle, I see your question. It's powerful. Oh my goodness. And thank you to all the people who are currently donating to the scholarship for our babies. Thank you so much. We see you. We appreciate you. Wow. And so I think we need to do one more thing before we jump into our clips, right, Mr. C?
What is that thing?
I think that thing is for our... Actually, we already did that thing. Let's go ahead and jump.
We did that thing.
We did it.
I do, for equity of voice, I do want to ask Katrina and Marcelo if they have anything to add to that initial conversation. I think Katrina was ready.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it's so refreshing to see Black joy just in I don't know how to say this. Just Black joy. Like, it's, especially in theater, we see a lot of Black pain being put on display. Mm-hmm. And that is a lot of emotional labor, constantly, to see that, you know, to see slavery, or to see like so many other things, people being shot, people being killed, to see like that's the type of images that we're constantly showed. It's so rare that we just see some Black people chilling in a pool, like having a good time, like loving, like, you know, and that it's so nice to see that.
Absolutely.
Trying to model that tonight too, right? So just sharing with each other and loving and being joyful and critical and creative. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Marcelo?
Yeah, I mean, going off of what Katrina said, I think it's very limiting to see only one narrative on anyone's experience. And especially, you know, in the past 10 years or so, I mean, really not even the past 10 years, maybe the past 5 years or so, we're seeing, you know, the conversations of representation matter come up more. And yes, this is a phrase that many of us have been championing for a long time, but representation doesn't look like one thing. And to limit it to just the struggle or just to oppression, those stories are important, of course they are, but there is so much more to somebody's life than just those elements. And so in order to have a fuller picture, we need to see, like Katrina said, the people chilling at the pool. We need to see the people having a hamburger. We need to see people falling in love. We need to see the different swatches and different colors of the painting of someone's life.
Definitely. And I appreciate that, Marcelo. You know, when we only see one thing, it makes us believe that we can only be one thing. We can only experience life and, you know, regardless of who you are, but we're talking about Black joy. So as Black people, when we only see one way of being, what does that tell us about ourselves? What does that tell other people about us and how we're able to live and how we're able to be, how we're able to breathe, how we're able to walk across the street, how we're able to, you know, be, right? And so I think we're ready to just jump in, y'all. I think we're ready to jump in. What do you think, Mr. C?
I think it's great. The first clip is, well, you got it coming on, right? Directed by Adam Shankman in 2007. It's a film adaptation of the Broadway musical Hairspray. And we got Motormouth Maybelle here, played by the one and only Queen Latifah. So we'll watch just a short 4-minute clip. Some of you have seen this, some of you have never seen this before. Just to contextualize it, Motormouth Maybelle is helping to lead a protest against a television station that is not integrated. We'll leave it at that. Here we go.
There's a light in the darkness, though the night is black as my skin. There's a light burning bright, showing me the way, but I know where I've been. There's a cry in the distance. It's a voice that comes from deep within. There's a cry asking why. I pray the answer's up ahead, 'cause I know where I've been. There's a road we've been traveling, lost so many on the way, but the riches will be plenty. Worth the price we had to pay. There's a dream in the future. There's a struggle that we have yet to win. to sit still with your sin. I know where I'm going. Lord knows I know where I've been. I give thanks to my God 'cause I know where I've
Wonderful. All
Beautiful.
right. So we got Motormouth Maybell experiencing something there.
We really do. Katrina, what are your thoughts? I mean, I believe you've actually played this role, right? So what's coming up for you, especially as it relates to how history is being portrayed, and why this particular moment is important for us to think about?
Yeah, I have played this role. I've actually done this show 3 times. But I've played Motormouth once, and the other 2 times I was a Dynamite. Um, um, so there's like, it's like a journey kind of with this role and with this show, because there are very few shows that give Black women a moment like this, a moment of power, a moment of strength, a moment where she's telling her story and is teaching kids, about life and what's going on. So to see that and to be able to experience that is just, an awesome moment. Yeah, on the other side about, like, I have my issues with Hairspray sometimes, well, not sometimes, but with some of the things in it. It wasn't until I played Motormouth that I realized that all her lines rhyme, which was kind of a disappointing thing to realize, that the character who essentially has the idea to lead this march and to lead this whole idea to break into the TV center and lead this whole thing, she doesn't really get credit for it. It's kind of, the credit's kind of given to Tracy, who's the white character. And this is a show that's written by white men, so that's a thing. So that's just a qualm I have with the show. But how many Black people who have gotten jobs from the show and who get to perform from the show and who get to do all those things, it's a great thing that was done on that front.
Excellent. Any other panelists want to jump right in?
Totally organic.
Yeah.
Look at Sherry. Sherry, you smile.
I'm looking at Rodney shake his head like, no, I don't want to jump in. One of the things that I was
think she really hit it on the head. I think she really did.
Yes.
Nothing to say.
Well, you know what? I love Katrina's introspective of the role of the character. What I was looking at was the social movement of the march. And I did not grow, I am not old enough to have participated in the March for the Civil Rights. And the marches that happened for Black Lives Matter over the summer, are like 2 pivotal shifts in society that it really brought up a lot, that this generation of young people are experiencing something very significant, that they can change that dial where others have failed to do so, that hopefully the next generation will remember this current movement and keep it moving forward. And that's what brought up for me in that nighttime march that they did. And then how dangerous it is, that's no joke. She's marching, and I know that in the movie there was some kind of a scuffle or confrontation, but it is so much more dangerous than what they could have displayed ever. To your body, to your mental health.
Why do you think that is, Sherry? Why do you think they didn't show all of that violence in that moment? Were they trying to focus on a joyful? Do you think that was purposeful? Do you think it was whitewashed? What do you think?
I think you just know that certain films won't do certain things. You know, certain television shows, certain plays go in a certain direction, and they don't want to go down deeper because then it gets dark, and then it'll become about that character, Queen Latifah's character. You know, and they needed to kind of gloss it over, like I call it the 30-minute sitcom. You got to wrap it up. You know, you got to wrap it up. You can't have any side discussions, but it's those side discussions that are really interesting. And if the story is good and authentic, I will sit there for part 1, part 2, part 3, 4, 5, you know, until it's done. But yeah, I think some people are just afraid to really touch on some of the real ugliness.
Oscar Wilde said, "Those who scratch at the surface do so at their own peril."
Absolutely. And I would argue that it's time for us to engage in that peril, right? Janelle Hall, whoever you are awesome. They are bringing up so many amazing things in the chat, and specifically around Motormouth Maybell's character, right? And how, and Katrina was hinting at this as well. What about her wholeness? Why can't we see her as whole? Why is it that, you know, every time she speaks, it has to rhyme? Why is it that we're not having, you know, this deeper, beyond the surface conversation? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was going to say, Mr. C, you made a comment. You said, what does Oscar Wilde say? Scrape the surface?
Those who scratch the surface do so at their own peril.
I think the creators felt like they were really being revolutionary when they were doing this. They were like, we're going to talk about these meaty topics, and we don't identify with these, but we're going to open up the opportunity for dialogue. So there was like a catch-20 where I'm like, don't want to beat the people who tried to change, but like at what, you know, how far was that change? Or did they invite others into that dialogue of creation who may have been identifying with that thing at hand to that change? You know, so many new ways of looking at this as we develop and we progress in how we make things. Because I feel like they scratched the surface.
Yep.
By making her the martyr, or like the person who's literally doing everything, and then not being like, even in the end, Katrina, does she get the job? Does she get the role, or does she take over the studio? What happens to her?
Well, in the movie version, they kind of tried to fix it in the movie version by having they still have the dance contest, and little Inez, her daughter, wins. Instead of in the play, which it's still Tracy who wins. So, you know, when you think about that in its own, it's like, okay, so they did this, they stormed, they won, they got in, and not only did the white girl the hero, but she also wins. She also wins, you know, she gets the guy, she wins the dance, she wins like everything. So yeah, the movie did try and like, let's little Inez is gonna win, okay.
That's proof that the movie, which was made later, was like, we need to fix something.
Right.
Like, they were like, there's a problem. We need to.
And the only time, I will say too, the only time that Motormouth doesn't rhyme is her lines leading into that song of that clip that we just watched.
That's what I'm saying, when she's real.
Exactly. And that's, I think that that's very important. And I wonder what the process was leading up to that, but that's just my nerd theater brain talking of like, who said something? I want to know who said something.
You guys ready for another clip?
So ready. Let's do it, y'all.
I'd love to introduce a clip. This is near and dear. We're going to watch 2 clips in a row. The first is real short. It's just a promo for Ain't Too Proud, Life of the Temptations, which Rodney has a little bit of expertise with. And then we'll move into a short clip from Memphis, the musical. All right, so here we go.
I guess you say, what can make me feel this way, my girl? Talking about my girl, my girl. I know you wanna leave me, but I refuse to let you go.
Yes.
Yes, we love to see it.
Directed by Des McAnuff. And we're going to go right into, before our conversation, we'll go right into the Memphis clip, if you don't mind, Joel. Yes. I saw Rodney singing and dancing right here in this little box.
Yes, I mean, we had a whole performance on the panel and on the screen. I'm like, who am I looking at? Who am I looking at here?
Thank you, Helen.
What's shaking, brothers and sisters? So glad you found us way up here on the dial. And even though we only reaching about a mile across downtown Memphis, we got us a jumping and jiving this music in town. It's Saturday night, meaning the party's at my favorite Beale Street juke joint. Ha! Dale Ray. It's time to lose the day. It's time to head to Beale, where the rhythm is hot and the music is real. You can do without love, swear off the booze, but everyone alive needs to sing the blues. So time to raise up hell and get on down. We're going downtown. On your skin. It ain't quite heaven, but the curses are in. We're going downtown, first we heard it in church, amen. Then we added some gin. Then we took it down here and added so much in. We're gonna jump and shout like a demon possessed. The devil's in the music is blessed. We're going turn away, paradise is found. We're going turn we're going down, just to burn that sound. We're gonna do something that you never get. Ain't no white folks here, cause they too damn scared. We going downtown, underground. Baby girl, where you been? Didn't see you all day.
Aw, don't you know by now, big brother? Ain't no such thing as daytime on Beale Street. Only nighttime.
Well,
now get out my way, let me sing my song. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
2, 3, 4. My brother runs my life. My brother owns this bar.
That's right.
He won't let me be till he makes me a star. He gives me the smile, makes me sing all I can. Just can't have no fun or talk to no man. Wanna paint the town, but with him, I ain't no fooling around. Woo! We're going down.
And there we go. All right. I'm over here thinking we're going down. I heard him say something about church and gin. I can get behind both of those things. That would make me a little bit joyful. So where we at, Rodney? Come on. You knew it with all my heart.
Oh, I got sunshine on a
All right now.
day. Oh, I love that. Yeah, Motown and that whole era of music. It's very special to me in my life. For those who don't know, Motown music is the music that gave us Michael Jackson, Jackson 5, Stevie Wonder, the Supremes. Who are the other greats? Smokey Robinson, the Commodores. So many greats and wonderful. And I was blessed and privileged to be a part of 2 Broadway shows which involved the canon of the Motown music. Motown the Musical being one of them, which is a story of Berry Gordy and Dinah Ross and how the whole record label was created, and Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations, both at Berkeley Rep and on tour internationally. Such incredible experiences. What I realized was the most incredible and pivotal thing from my life when it came to Blackness was to be in a cast surrounded by people who look like me. Like I got that that I feel like I was definitely privileged, blessed, honored, man. And it amped up my artistry. I started to sing differently and started to understand and see and vibe around people who had my same skin. And I had not that experience in college because we are normally the tokens, people who look like Katrina, Marcelo, and I, who are like, went to school. People don't look like us who go to these conservatories, who go and train, or who are on these. We're the one Black person in our cast, but I was in a cast full of them. I was like, whoa! So I was blessed. I was super blessed. I was also blessed because we got to meet these artists that we were portraying. We got to meet, I got to meet Mary Wilson before she just passed. I got to meet. Played golf with Stevie Wonder. And I remember Mr. Berry Gordy, he said, thank goodness for you all. And I was like, no, thank goodness for you. He's like, nah, thank goodness for you all, because you guys are us. You guys are, we passed the torch. You guys are keeping it alive. Our music didn't just die with us. You guys get to keep it alive for us. So it was an honor for me to hear that as a 20-something-year-old from him, who's like a legend in his 80s. And so that message, I think, was true for he would say that to everyone. Anyone who wants to be young and Black and go and do their art, thank goodness for you, because you're keeping his vision of our music alive. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Johnson, what you thinking?
Wow, I don't even know how I can follow that up. Thank you, Rodney. I don't have the theater background, but when I saw the Memphis clip, the first thing I thought about was hip hop and how hip hop was so much influenced by blues and by the jazz, right? The scene opened with the DJ kind of getting the party hype, and then he passed it to the MC who colorfully told his story, right? So creative with his words and his rhymes. And then when he passed the mic to his partner, they kind of told a story, bouncing off and kind of vibing with each other. And so it just really made me think about hip hop and how, hip hop nowadays gets a bad rap, but the essence of hip hop is Black joy. It's a celebration. It's about being creative. It's about expressing yourself. And the music has been appropriated and it's changed so much throughout the years that we often forget that. But hip hop is a celebration. It's the hey, ho, and the call response and the dancing and the color. So when I think about Black joy and Black music, for me, it goes back to hip hop. And I saw so much hip hop right there in that clip.
I love it. We have a question in the chat that I think is perfect for right now, if y'all don't mind. Janelle asked, how does theater celebrate the Black experience without the struggle? What are your favorite examples of Black joy without the struggle? All right now, Janelle. All right now, Janelle.
Well, I'll jump in here because
because Sherry got a company about this.
Any good story is going to have a struggle in it. We don't want to see lollipops and fuzzy bunnies for 2 hours in live theater. There has to be some kind of challenge or struggle, which makes it good. The question is, which struggle are you talking about? An internal human struggle or a struggle of outside forces? And, African American Shakespeare Company, we were created because there's not enough stories just about us being humans. There's more playwrights coming onto the scene. It's a big process dealing with it. So what we do is we take Shakespeare's plays and we just put humanity on top of it. So, it's Julius Caesar set in war-torn Africa for us. It's A Midsummer Night's Dream during the Trinidad Carnival season and all these beautiful costumes. We did the original script of Cinderella, where at the very end, Cinderella talks about how she's found her voice and her power. And you see positive images of Black people, because that was one thing that I got tired of is Black kids are cute up until a certain age. And then all of a sudden it's like, let me hold my purse closer to me. Those girls are talking too loud on the bus. And I wanted a theater company and a play that was just about having that identity seen, heard, non-apologetically in all of our communities. So yeah, the struggle makes it interesting, but then it's the question of which struggle are you talking about?
Right. Is it the struggle
Mm.
or is it a struggle? Right.
Mhm.
And there is a difference. I think, yeah. Thank you for that, Miss Young.
Absolutely. And shout out to our middle school superintendent, Miss Han Fung. Mama Han, we see you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and participating in our conversation and adding to it. We appreciate you.
I also believe the supervisor of the arts department, Sam Bass, is here. So thank you for being here.
All right.
San Francisco Unified School District Arts Department, formerly known as VAPA. You know, we talk about the struggle. I think it would be important to look at a few performing artists who've lived the struggle and in their own personal lives and still have overcome and been successful on their own terms. And we have a couple of clips that are not performance-based, but two really, really special performing artists, Cynthia Erivo and Viola Davis, who are going to share some acceptance speeches for awards that they've won, respectively the Tony Award for performing in live theater and the Emmy Award for television. So if we could roll those clips, then we'll continue the conversation. I just love you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, this is so thoughtful.
It's an exciting year to be on Broadway, and it is also my pleasure to celebrate the work of 5 outstanding women whose sparkling contribution to this season are intelligent, resonant, and vibrant. The nominees for Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role in a Musical are Laura Benanti, She Loves Me, Carmen Cusack, Bright Star, Cynthia Erivo, The Color Purple, Jessie Mueller, Waitress, Philippa Sue, Hamilton. And the American Theater Wing's Tony goes to Cynthia Erivo, The Color Purple.
With her Broadway debut, Cynthia Erivo wins the Tony for her spectacular performance as Celie Johnson in The Color Purple.
I promised myself I wouldn't cry because my makeup artist would be really mad at me. Hi, Mummy, look. To Scott Sanders, to Roy Furman, to Oprah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would not be here if it was not for you. For Alice Walker for writing a story that could last through time and time again. Thank you. For John Doyle, for holding my hand all the way through this, from London right to here, and for giving me all the tools I needed to tell a story that everybody needs to hear. To every single person in my cast, you are magnificent. Thank you so much for lifting me up when I'm tired, for holding my hands when I'm happy, for kissing me on my forehead when you know I just need some love. Danielle, Jennifer Hudson, Heather Headley, Jakina Calicango, you are wonderful women, and I thank you very much for looking into my eyes every night on stage, for making me a stronger woman on stage. Everyone in that theater, thank you, and thank you, American Theatre Wing, for making a London girl very, very happy. Thank you.
I mean, every time I watch that, I get teary-eyed.
Chills. Oh my gosh.
We're gonna watch Viola Davis accept her Emmy Award, and then we're gonna talk about how important and significant this is.
Mm.
I want to thank Mr. Thompson and Ms. Snellgrove for operating the slides and for sharing screen. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
Also, while we're doing that, we want to thank Miss Nikki Ford Morthell, our Deputy Superintendent of San Francisco Unified School District, is on with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you for supporting us here at James Lick.
And the Emmy goes to Viola Davis, How to Get Away with Murder.
This is the first Emmy win and nomination for Viola Davis, who is a graduate of Juilliard.
In my mind, I see a line. And over that line, I see green fields and lovely flowers and beautiful white women with their arms stretched out to me over that line. But I can't seem to get there no how. I can't seem to get over that line. That was Harriet Tubman in the 1800s. And let me tell you something. The only thing that separates women of color from anyone else is opportunity. You cannot win an Emmy for roles that are simply not there. So here's to all the writers, the awesome people that are Ben Sherwood, Paul Lee, Peter Nowak, Shonda Rhimes, people who have redefined what it means to be beautiful, to be sexy, to be a leading woman, to be Black. And to the Taraji P. Hensons, the Kerry Washingtons, the Halle Berrys, the Nicole Beharies, the Megan Goods, to Gabrielle Union, thank you for taking us over that line. Thank you for the Television Academy. Thank you.
More awards, more awards. I had no idea that Harriet Tubman said, I mean, until I watched that clip, of course, to prepare, but in my mind, I see a line. And when I first watched it, I thought like she was saying that, and she invoked the spirit of Tubman. It just makes me so moved.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm sitting here watching it as well, and this is not the first time, and y'all saw me. I'm teary-eyed as well, and I'm a Black woman myself. It's very real, every ounce. Sherry, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I love these clips, just because back in the day, and now I am old enough for this, there was an acceptable Black star. There was like Jane Kennedy, where you kind of like light skin, Latino looking, you know, and there was never a space, it felt like, for dark skinned Black women. And you always thought you had to straighten your hair and, you know, look a certain way. And even growing up, my mother always used to tell me, it's like, girl, you got to put some grease on that hair so we could press your hair out. You know, we need to put some grease on the hair. And there was never a time in my mother's life where she would have worn her hair naturally. And I'm up here seeing Viola Davis, dark skinned, you know, she not normally cast as the love interest or the hero. She's all, you know, dark-skinned Black women are always the friend, the aggressor, you know, the side chick or something other. But she was able to bring all of herself with her to those roles, and somebody saw that. And I love the fact that she mentioned, and both Cynthia, they mentioned about other people supporting them on the way, because they could never have got to where they got to without someone holding their hand, opening one door, opening another door, giving them those opportunities. So, you know, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I hope we never go back. And it just that is black joy, absolute Black joy.
Absolutely. When I think about these the roles, my gosh, the range for both of them, Cynthia Erivo and Viola Davis, from roles that needed to be played that share resistance, such as, you know, The Color Purple, I'm thinking The Help, right? To, you know, How to Get Away with Murder. Her role in How to Get Away with Murder is so diverse.
She takes off her hair.
Honey.
She let her natural show out. She got snot and she doesn't care. And I love it.
In
It
Doubt.
was real. It was real.
She plays the mother in Doubt for like 4 minutes in the film, you know, and there's just like, it is not a pretty picture, but it is beautiful. Right? She plays Ma Rainey, you know, Ma Rainey's Black, like the most recent film that was just adapted, the play, and the grease paint and but my God, what a performance. And in that reality is beauty. At least as a director myself, as a performer, I look at that, I go, damn, that's like so raw, so beautiful.
And how the experience is captured, right? Go ahead, Katrina.
I just wanted to touch on how happy all the other women were for both winners, and that was like another thing of Black Joy is, you know, there wasn't any animosity, there wasn't any jealousy. It was pure happiness that to see, like, I see you, sis, like,
yes,
you know, like
all of you,
like all of it. And I also just wanted to touch on, this is like kind of going back to the question about Black Joy on theater, and I was thinking about The Color Purple and the What About Love? I think that's what it's called, right? What About Love is like one of the, I feel like is such a Black Joy song within such a show that does teeter on using the struggle as we're talking about, but that moment is joy, that moment is love, that moment is just pure happiness in the characters anyway. But that's kind of random, but
that's beautiful. We actually have one of our students who is asking for a brief rundown of the play The Color Purple. Would any of our panelists like to share their wisdom in brief with us to walk us through?
I would just recommend reading the book.
That too.
Hello, Reading Zone.
But let me give the student a little tidbit. It's about family. It's about sisterhood. It's about knowing who you are and getting that strength from within. So it's worth reading the book, or you could listen to the audio tape, or you could find the movie with Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey.
Directed by Steven Spielberg.
There it is. There it is. All right, y'all.
Well, Steven Spielberg is one of the great directors. I think we should end on a really, really high note with what some might consider to be like almost the epitome of Black Joy, if you will, in the production of the adaptation of The Wizard of Oz, known as The Wiz, directed by Mr. Sidney Lumet. We're gonna watch this clip and debrief, and then we're gonna open it up for all the questions and answers from the audience. You guys are doing terrific. I love it. Okay, now I'm living with this, so if I get up and dance, don't laugh hard.
Show us your best move.
On and ease on down. I love it. Okay. I want to be in it. I want to direct it. I want to live it. I want to just inject it right here. I just want to.
All of it.
Thank you.
All of
Black
it.
directed, black acted, black produced. Okay.
You can
Marcelo.
see. You can be a producer.
I can produce. I can produce.
You cannot be in it. I'm sorry, but
it would not be right. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right.
It would not be right. It would not be right because this was made for a specific reason.
Oh, that reminds me of a certain person you and I know who did a production and cast a white boy in a role in Raisin in the Sun. And I was very upset. I was all, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Colorblind casting." And I'm like, that is an insult to the delicacy of my nature. Like, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Marcelo, what were you, The Wiz, man.
I mean, I think like I saw some comments in the chat saying that like this is the epitome of Black joy, and it's true. Like you can't not, you have to smile. You absolutely must smile when watching that. And like, again, coming back to your initial question, what is Black joy? I mean, I think that sums it up very well. And at first I was going to talk about, how I came to the Wiz and all of these things. But as this conversation has gone on, and even on the subject of producing this, I think what's so important to recognize about the importance of the Wiz is, as it was said, is this was produced under Motown, right? This was the Motown machine that put that out there. It was by Black people, for Black people. And unfortunately, I think we're still at a point where we're not seeing enough of that.
Absolutely.
And I'm very fortunate that my co-founder, being Rodney, has his own experiences as a Black artist, as a Black person, and as so many other things, that we can have these open conversations of like how can we best represent our communities on stage, because that is what's still missing, right? I forget sometimes, working on it day in, day out, that having a company like ours is important because of the kind of content we're creating and for who we're creating it for, right? It's why it's important that Sherry has the company that she has. It's important that Katrina is a casting director for multiple companies, because if you don't have those voices at the table, how are these decisions supposed to be made? How are productions like The Wiz ever supposed to be created? And it's not enough to say, well, The Wiz exists. Isn't that enough? You have Hamilton. Isn't that enough? No, the answer is no, it's not enough. The same way it's important to have educators be different, come from all different walks of life. If you can't see yourself in the people that you're learning from, if you can't see yourself from the people on stage, how are we ever supposed to get across that line the way that Viola was talking about?
And I think that's also very powerful. That was very powerful, Marcelo. And I think that's where the conversation of solidarity should begin. There is a need, right, to address Black joy as it exists, for Black people, by Black people. And if you're going to be, participating in, casted as part of a production that is about Blackness and its depiction, how are you manifesting your understanding of this? Is this just a role, right? Or are you becoming a co-conspirator in this work and saying, no, depicting Black joy is important? and this is why I'm engaged in this work. So Marcelo, how is that? How have you engaged in that? You mentioned that you've been part of the Wiz, and as a person of color, how did you engage in that work? How did you engage in the performance, knowing that you were part of the exhibition, the demonstration of Black Joy as a non-Black person, but a person of color nonetheless?
I do want to clarify, I've actually never been in a production of The Wiz.
I'm sorry, I thought you had.
And sadly, I want to say that before the COVID pandemic hit, we were actually in talks of working with another collaborator to mount a production of The Wiz here in San Francisco in the Bayview.
My goodness.
Of course, things being what they are, that didn't happen. But in that sense, like as a non-Black person, then my job is to uplift and point to the people who I'm like, don't ask me. Talk to someone who is better knowledge or more well-versed in this area. I mean, I would love to just sit for once and enjoy The Wiz. Like it was one of those pieces that in the early days of YouTube, and here I go dating myself, that was one of the things, like I would stay up and watch Stephanie Mills in the original Broadway production sing my favorite number, Home, from The Wiz, and I think that's the beautiful thing about a show like this is it talks to how it doesn't matter who you are. You can be Dorothy, you can be the Lion, you can see yourself in all of these things. And we have limited ourselves for so long to say, this is what American theater looks like. And spoiler alert, it doesn't look like the people on this call. And even when it does, who's benefiting from it? Because, and again, when I come back to the importance of, Motown producing something like The Wiz, that was money going back into a Black-owned company. But unfortunately, some of the other examples that we've seen tonight are produced by rich white men. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that if you're rich and you're white and you're a man, that you're evil and you don't deserve it. I'm not saying that, but there needs to be space for other people at this table, because that's how Black joy in its purest form can actually get out to the world, and not through this veil of, oh, well, this is what we think it is, and this is how you're going to start digesting it because it's comfortable for you. Those days need to be gone and done with.
That's what our scholarship is all about tonight, is providing 100% of the funds to support our African-American students at James Lick Middle School. There is no rule book that says you have to wait till you get to high school or college to start your career.
That's right.
Dream girls to start when they're 12 years old, right? You think about you're living life in this moment. So how can I, from a place of privilege, right, and as GW says, as a co-conspirator, as an ally, as a supporter, as somebody who stands in solidarity, collaborate with friends and family to provide not only the space for the conversation, but also to share resources to help the next generation of artists, whether they're performing artists or otherwise, have access to the stepping stones that they need to go on their journey. So thank you.
I want to share something with you guys. So when I was starting off my company, the Ruth Asawa School of the Arts invited me to direct, and Rodney, as a 15-year-old, was in the show Raisin in the Sun. And at that time, Susan Stauder was somebody that I knew from American Conservatory Theater, where I graduated. And Susan Stauder and I talked about Rodney. And she and I said, we're going to watch out for Rodney and make sure that he gets to where he needs to go in life. Yes. Oh, I never told you that? Yeah, we were yeah. Oh, well, you knew, but I don't think Rodney knew that conversation. Yes. So,
I did not know that. What?
Yeah, we Susan Stauder and I talked about that you had talent, and we needed to make sure that you go to where you're supposed to be. And I look at San Francisco Bay Area Theater Company. You guys have been around for now 5 or 6 years now. And now you guys will be looking at the next generation to help elevate and lift them up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I have a responsibility to make sure that you guys keep it going for the next generation, because without that person to help motivate you and move you forward, how do you know what to do? How do you know where to go?
Yo, that's Black Joy, Sherry. Marcel and I were working on grants today, and we were literally talking about our history as a company and literally how we had a 3-year residency as a small new nonprofit theater company at the African American Art and Culture Complex in the Fillmore. And it was thanks to people like you, because you gave us a recommendation, and we had an office where we shared a medium-sized office with 6 other organizations, all with our own little desks next to your office, a nice big office. And whenever we needed help, you were right there. I'm thinking about it now. In the moment, it's so, hindsight 2020. There was so much joy in being able to knock on your door and ask a question, and you have the answer for us. Because talk about that. Having a resource, there's joy from that. Teachers can be a resource. That's joy. Someone to answer your question when you need help. So often we don't have the tools, the words, the knowledge, the information. It's not equitable for us. We're not given it. We were set up in a system to succeed, I realize now, being so in close proximity to other African-American led theater organizations when we were just a baby. So thank you for that.
Well, I just admire so much what all the educators do, because having 30 something plus students, Jesus. And then having that to be, you guys are the inspiration for the students to move forward. Right. You guys give us hope. It was somebody in my life that said, you're good at what you do. You need to go forward. And I've had that kind of guidance all the way. So as an educator, I got to give it up to you guys. You guys, and like the resources and the people that support you. I mean, you guys are the powerful ones that we look to, because I wouldn't be where I am. I don't know if Rodney would be where he is, or Marcelo, or SF Batco.
All of us, Katrina, Marcelo, we're all SF students.
Yeah, I was going to say, without program, I didn't have any money, Rodney didn't have any money. We had scholarships to these programs as kids. And so when things like this come up, this is what matters to us, we see the importance in giving these children these opportunities to have a seat at the table, which is taking these classes that they might not be able to afford. And I have to say, as you already said, Sherry, thank you to these educators, to these teachers who saw something in us. And one of my teachers who saw something in me is right here. So, Mr. C, thank you.
I love you guys so much. Just being here, we have a strong history and a strong connection. I'll tell you, the good news is that James Lick Middle School will be partnering again with the Bay Area Theater Company. They're going to be working with some of my theater students. We have future plans to be working with Sherry and the African American Shakespeare Company. We're also partnering with the American Conservatory Theater. So I want to make sure that we thank the San Francisco Unified School District Arts Department, Sam Bass and Ron Machado, especially for helping to make sure that the vision that I have for my students to partner and work with Ruth Asawa's mission to partner with working teaching artists in the academic classroom, not extra, in the classroom.
That's right.
The reality. And I want to thank administrators like Mr. Johnson, Ms. GW, and Ms. Detai for supporting the vision and for making James Lick Middle School not just a middle school, but a destination where kids come for the arts to live their lives. I love working at the school, and I've loved tonight.
Yeah, it's been so beautiful. We appreciate you so much. It has been powerful. It has been moving. This is truly a labor of love, y'all. This is a labor of love. We've been working, Mr. C and myself, and our committee. We have been working on this since October, and curating the clips. Mr. C curated our clips for this evening, and just giving so much love and having the conversation that needs to be had, including our students, including our families, including our larger SF Bay Area community from various vantage points, right? joyous Black experience is not monolithic. There are so many ways to experience Black joy, whether you are queer, trans, able-bodied, not. The Black joy experience matters. Black lives matter. Right? And so for our students and our school, we want to make sure that that is clear. And that Black history is our history. It is every day. It is not just in February. It is not just in March. It is every day. Okay. And so with that said, we've got a couple of seconds. Would anyone else like to offer any closing words?
I think a nice whip around, maybe one word or phrase. How are you feeling? I love that idea.
Inspired.
Inspired. Miss Sherry Young, one word or phrase. Inspired.
That's what I said, inspired.
Yeah. I'm feeling loved. I'm feeling love all over. I'm feeling loved.
As a James Lick alumni, I gotta say I am proud of my community.
We're proud of you, man.
Yeah, I'm feeling heard.
I'd say joyful right now.
Miss GW?
Whole.
I'm feeling schooled, educated, included, grateful to the donors and for those, especially the students who joined us tonight, and honored to be in such distinguished company. Thank you all so very much. This was the first of maybe potentially more conversations.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can tag us somewhere on social media. I don't understand the cloud. It's raining, it's pouring, the old man is snoring. I don't understand, but get the word out that James Lick is the spot.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. We appreciate you. Stay safe. We are very close to meeting our $5,000 goal. We've got a little over $3,000. So help us get there. Help us provide performing art experiences for our Black students. Thank you so much. DJ, drop that joint.
Thank you to Ryan and Helen and Moana behind the scenes with Joel and
Yes,
Helen.
thank you. We are nothing without our team. We appreciate you. Thank you to Ms. D-Ty, our principal. We love you dearly. Thank you for trusting us to do this and not look foolish. Thank you.
All right, y'all, be well. We love you. Happy Lunar New Year.
Yes.
Loving these comments, everybody. I'm going to stick around and read some of these comments. I love it.
Me too.
All right.